Hello all, this is Zorch, and welcome to an episode of Oxygen Not Included. I've been playing this game for a little bit. I think I'm on my fourth attempt, and I'd like to show you guys the colony I've created. So we'll resume here. It's the colony of Fairly. You might have noticed there, it's on the 153rd cycle, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but I think at this point it can't die unless there's some gross negligence on my part. Like I said, this was my fourth colony. The first one, someone started vomiting, and then everyone started vomiting, and it was a bad time. The second one, there was a food shortage, I believe, and everybody starved to death, and it was a sad time. So let's come back to the colony itself. You can see it takes up quite a bit of the screen, and we'll just press play to get everything going again. So we've got 20 colonists here, and right now we've got 174,000 calories, so enough to last a few days. I'm pretty sure that everyone... No. Everyone should have a snazzy suit. Did the snazzy suits run out? Well, at one point, everyone had themselves a snazzy suit. But let's go on a quick tour of the colony. So the top couple floors here are all the living quarters. Everyone has a cot and a mess table with lots of floor lamps. I know I could save like floor space with ceiling lamps, but I like the way the floor lamps look better, and it lights everything up just fine. Everywhere someone lives or sleeps has light, and most of the major living areas are well lit and well decorated, as you can see by this wonderful greenness. It's kind of nice seeing the little waves of good decor going from the people with snazzy suits on. I think I'm going to start a couple more of those building if other people don't have any, which is sad. So the major living areas, as you can see, they're well decorated. Everyone likes being there. But there's these red areas of... But those are just the machinery that keep the colony alive. Everything's well oxygenated at this point, emanating mostly from the bottom. And it stretches up nicely. I do have... This is just kind of a fun thing. Chlorine gas just occasionally comes down from up here because of the way I've had to cut things. So I've just got a little system here with a switch every once in a while that I turn on that pumps chlorine into this hole. Chlorine capture and storage. Yeah. So oxygen production, this is the first of my oxygen production, was just these 12 algae terrariums, and they lasted me for quite some time actually. At one point I had liquid pipes pumping water onto them because these algae terrariums will absorb water if they're submerged into it. But eventually that just became a detriment with all my replicants trying to soak up the tiny bit of water that was there and wasting all of their efforts. The rest of the oxygen production is from electrolyzers. I've got 2 sets of them. I've got, I think, 9? Yeah, 9 of them here and another 4 over here. So these are enclosed areas. As you can see, it's tightly enclosed all around. The coal, originally I was powering everything with coal, but I've consumed all the readily accessible coal around me, so that's not so much an option anymore. It's all now powered with natural gas, which I'll get to in a bit. Anyway, we're generating carbon dioxide from the coal generators, which was consumed by the air scrubbers, which would then produce a little bit of polluted water for the water purifier, which would then send that water back into the remainder of the system. Water coming in gets pumped through all the electrolyzers, all good, making lots of oxygen. Some gas pumps nearby the electrolyzers to make it so they can always keep pumping. And a hydrogen generator, of course, to deal with the hydrogen with a gas pump at the top to make sure that the hydrogen actually gets sucked up. Unfortunately, most of it tends to gather over here rather than on the left, but what can you do? The oxygen produced then gets pumped out into the colony through a couple different ways, and it's the same kind of layout here. This one has fewer gas pumps, just the two at the top, and I built this one second, so it was a bit more thought out. I had raised the gas pumps a little bit higher so that the hydrogen would always come to them rather than grouping somewhere else. Some more coal that doesn't do anything. There's an extra water purifier here because there's the air scrubbers again to deal with the carbon dioxide, but also this is one of the sources of water for my colony, is this pool of polluted water, which I actually recently had to restock. So that gets pumped into this water purifier, which then sends it through the electrolyzers, as well as the carbon dioxide scrubbers. I believe the second water purifier was just to increase throughput, but because I have another source of water, which is this steam geyser, as well as this steam geyser, which I've just created a little stairwell so it can let its water down into the same area. Oh, a little bit of polluted waters here, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Anyway, that is providing so much water that it's kind of backing up the system. I have too much water. Here's a little pointless path from a past piping that I never got rid of. I also have a shower and a bathroom. Oh, the pipe's blocked. So one thing, oh, it's unblocking itself. That's nice. I'm going to turn up the throughput on this flow valve just a little bit. I think with 20 colonists, it actually they use it often enough that it gets blocked up. Because I only put enough water into the system at the start to keep it going, to get it started. Because after that, the lavatory produces it produces as much water as it uses, and then some. So eventually it gets backed up, so that's why I have the liquid valve to let additional pressure out. But of course, it is being backed up as well because I have so much water in the system. This was a reservoir I actually had to build when my first water sections, which I think were here and here, ran out, just so that the duplicants could gather water to put into the microbe mushers as well as the algae terrariums. This reservoir is mostly fed by the steam geysers, so the temperature is rather hot at 50 degrees Celsius, and the thimble reeds actually didn't like it that warm, so I had some trouble to cool it down. So I built. There isn't in this version of the game so far. There isn't a way to cool water easily. You can heat it, but as far as I can tell, you can't cool it. So I built my own radiator. There's a liquid system constantly pumping water. The pump here actually isn't working. I just put it there to start the system going. So it filled up the whole thing with a little bit of polluted water, why not? Which circulates through this, taking as long as it can to allow for water transfer. There's also a gas system at the same time. The gas system actually has the advantage of I can run the gas through a thermoregulator to cool it down. And I originally had 3 thermoregulators where one would feed into the next. But I was having trouble with the gas pipes freezing because they were getting down to minus 70 degrees Celsius. I think they start taking damage at around minus 50, actually. So it's just the one, and it still actually has trouble. Sometimes it'll break. Oh, and I'm losing gas out of this. I should open this up a bit, because I don't want a vacuum in here. A vacuum can't conduct the heat very well, so I need to have gas there to fill it in. It's insulated, of course, to keep the cold in, so you can see that it is much cooler in here. And that was partially achieved by setting these storage compactors to anything liquefiable, so snow, ice, and polluted ice, putting them in there, and then canceling that so it would dump them all on the floor, which lets those cool everything around them, so you can see it's much colder down here. And once that starts melting, it actually does things really well. It'd be nice to have a nice cold area for a long period of time, but I just can't quite. I have no water source readily available to pump in here because, as I mentioned, my water source is nice and hot. Anyway, so the water coming in is around 50 degrees, but it is managing to cool it down. I think, let's see, water coming into the system, if we pause here, is, so it comes into this section at 28 degrees Celsius, and it leaves at about 28.8. So it loses a tenth of a degree Celsius, and then once it comes through here, it comes in at 28.8 and leaves at 28.9. So it's a very small difference, but it is radiating heat from the full water, the reservoir, and doing it out. So hopefully in the future, my life is made a little bit easier, and a way to cool water is created. Because at present, all I can do is build a radiator like this. Maybe in the future I'll think a bit better about how to design it and keep it nice and cool. Let's see, where else does the water go? So this is actually what's powering the colony right now, is these natural gas generators. I have more than I need, actually. Well, I'm more than I can support, I should say. Oh, damn. One of the problems with being in this cold area is polluted water occasionally causes issues and makes it too toasty. This is my primary food supply. The sleet wheat grain, which I've been making into, let's see, I've got 74 frost buns. So that's how I've been feeding myself. These are all hydroponic farms. So the water that gets through all the electrolyzers comes up and irrigates everything, and later gets pumped down to these air scrubbers, which are not doing a great job, but they're trying to help with the natural gas generators, the carbon dioxide that is produced by the natural gas generators. So the natural gas actually comes from three sources for these. There's a natural gas geyser on this side, which is all nicely locked in, and another natural gas geyser down here. So this one's a bit more full, and so it's got 6 kilograms of gas pressure, which is actually very high. Whereas up here, this one I managed to empty of the stock that was there. So I'm only really getting 200, 150 grams of gas per unit that is moved. I could put another gas pump here to pump up towards this one to make it a bit faster, but at present it's enough to keep all of them right now. There was a period where it wasn't enough to feed all of the natural gas generators. Oh, I'm not eating my pepper nuts fast enough. How unfortunate. But one thing that is supplementing that is a lot of the polluted water from the carbon dioxide scrubbers and the polluted water that comes from the natural gas is collected here and gets pumped down into these fertilizer makers, which as a byproduct produce natural gas. So I've got 6 of them producing 20, so that's 120 grams per second of natural gas. And that is currently what is feeding these 2 natural gas generators. It's a bit slower than one might like, but meh. Is this? Yes, so some carbon dioxide gets pumped in here from time to time, which might cause me some issues. I'm noticing that the topmost ones here are over pressure from... Oh, oxygen. I've gone too high in my natural gas tower. So I put them all in a stack, and that was in order to allow all the polluted water to come into this pump here. This pump is actually normally off, and once the water fills up to this level, this hydro switch, once there's 3 kilograms of water around it, it turns on the pump to pump it out. But most of the time it's actually blocked anyway, so occasionally I just have a replicant come over and open the airlock to let a little bit of the water out. I've been a little less efficient with some of the things on this side, mostly because it's a big empty area that I don't care too much about polluting. So that's power. We're currently producing 4 to 5 kilowatts of power out of a possible 11.4, but all the coal generators are idle and the hydrogen generators are only sometimes. There is 5 manual generators that feed into the power system. Um, they're more there as a backstop just to power the gas pumps and everything in case for what I did have at one point when I first exhausted this geyser's stock and before getting this geyser going, where I wasn't producing natural gas fast enough to feed everything. So it is coming from up there. Let's just get that fixed because the overheating here is a bit of a problem. I actually do need to do something about this because with these not growing, my major food supply is not going to survive for very long. Um, so I've got a couple different circuits for power as well. There's this one which feeds through this power transformer into the system, into the most of the utilities are all on a single heavy watt circuit, so those can support up to 20 kilowatts, and I've at most got 9.8 on there. And it's all one continuous system from these utility sections all the way to the other side. But there's a couple different just electrical wire circuits. The major reason that the utilities are so low in decor is because the heavy watt wire there, because there's so many of them around, it's just a huge detriment to decor. So you can't have it anywhere near the living areas. And I've got electrical wire. Let's see, I've got this circuit here. Oh, this was something from early on. It doesn't much matter now, but there's a thermo switch here that if it gets above 19 degrees Celsius, it powers this pump, which leads to a thermoregulator here, which this was originally well outside of the base and in a very cool area. That's why I put it there. And then that feeds back through an insulated pipe just to keep the gas cold. It's at what, 12 degrees Celsius? And that was just to keep the bristle blossoms cool. And it actually doesn't work fantastically, but I've mostly run out of seeds for these bristle blossoms and the mealworms, so not too concerned about them. The Wheezeworts actually do an okay job of cooling things down, which is kind of nice. Yeah, it just lowers the ambient air temperature. So as I was saying, power circuits. I've got, let's see, I've got a power transformer here, which provides power to most of the living area lights, as well as the chlorine pump, which has done its job. There's no more chlorine there. This actually is a twofold filter. It filters the chlorine out, sends it here, and then filters the oxygen out and leaves it behind, just so I didn't deoxygenate this area. Up here is my pincha pepper plant farm. It's completely sealed in just so I could keep air pressure up, and it has a space heater to keep it nice and toasty for the pincha pepper plants. And that's how I've been making my pepper bread as well, which I might be able to make more of. Where's my food here? Pepper bread. Oh, I've got 2,000 sleet wheat. We'll just continuously make that until we run out, I guess. Here's some biodistillers converting slime into algae. I find it doesn't work very well just because slime, it goes so fast and there's not much of it in a single block, so you have to mine so much slime. So it's there for any slime we do accumulate, but we don't accumulate too much. Let's see. So we've explored quite a bit of the world as well. Out here is actually, I've seen the far end of the world, and there's neutronium, which is unbreakable, which means this is the world border. That's as far as you can go. I think the world is taller than it is wide. Oh, there's a new natural gas geyser over here. Excellent. So these guys, this is just a huge exploratory mission. Just building ladders up to the top. I think there's some coal here if I really wanted. Just to try and explore a little bit more of the world. Down at the bottom, I've also got an exploratory mission that's it's come all the way down here. It's coming through a cold area. Oh, nice carbon dioxide pit. Wrong overlay. There we go. But yeah, there's actually quite a few unbreathable areas outside of outside of the main oxygenated areas, but that makes it a bit easier to keep everyone alive. As you may have noticed, I've been able to talk to you guys this whole time without the colony collapsing. That's what I mean by it's pretty self-sufficient. But there are a few dangers that could happen. Right now we have only 816 kilograms of algae, and at present my electrolyzers aren't sufficient simply because of gas pressure reasons. They aren't sufficient to supply all of the oxygen needs of my colony. So running out of algae could eventually destroy me. But there's algae all around and there's slime nearby. I'm not too concerned about that. And I've already pointed out that I have a huge glut of water. So if I really needed to, I could build more electrolyzers. The problem then might be power, which, as I pointed out, we're producing slightly more power than we're using. Actually, we're consuming a bit more than we're using at present. Let's take a look at one of the reports from the days I haven't been paying attention to. And we have been producing more over the course of a day than we've been using. But we've been wasting quite a bit because the batteries are always full. I should probably build more batteries. As you can see, this that pipe broke from being frozen, which happens from time to time. Got some hand sanitizer to keep everyone's hands clean. Well, let's give some people some snazzy suits. One for Erica, one for James, one for Zach, one for Horace, Horatio, Bob, and that's all of them, I guess. So let's make a few more. I think at one point everyone had a snazzy suit, so they must run out over time. What do you mean you haven't been assigned a suit? You're wearing a fancy suit right now, aren't you? Let's see. Where is someone with a snazzy suit on? We can probably best see by looking, although you're not making much of a difference. Yes, Meep. Meep has himself a suit. Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know why, but occasionally some of my snazzy suits have gone missing, which is unfortunate. So besides possibly running out of algae and therefore oxygen, the other major threat is because I've put the foods farms were here before the natural gas generators. I don't know why I chose to put them here. I think I was just testing with one of them and I kept going. So they are causing a little bit too much heat around quite a few of these. This is a neat combination of colors here. There's natural gas, chlorine, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide all right here. So to cool this off, I could do a number of things. I could build a thermoregulator to cool the gas around the plants. How toasty are they? So they want between -55 and 5, and the carbon dioxide around it is 8.5 degrees. So I'd have to cool the carbon dioxide, which is at decently high pressure, about 3 degrees. So a thermoregulator might accomplish that. Several could probably do it, and that'd be worth it. It's probably my best bet, actually. Alternatively, I could just up and move the whole apparatus to somewhere that's still cold enough. Out here is still -30 degrees. Oh, there's a water geyser there. Sweet. I'm definitely not going to run out of water. But yeah, I've got 2 fridges completely full of food. I could take more duplicants, but I have no problems with labor, and everyone, I can build things and continue just servicing the colony with these 20 colonists. So I haven't really felt the urge to. Let's see, how are we doing? How was yesterday? Yeah, we made 242 kilograms of oxygen yesterday. So I could definitely afford more colonists, or replicants. I just haven't bothered. Other things I should probably do to improve the colony is build a whole bunch of air scrubbers to clear out some of this carbon dioxide. That'll also reduce the gas pressure here and allow me to fully utilize my natural gas generators. But besides that, this colony, beyond active intervention on my part, or gross negligence, I suppose, um, as of this update of the game, the agriculture update, is self-sufficient. So I think things are pretty good. Everyone's pretty happy with the decor. Stress levels are low, and pretty successful colony on the whole, I believe. Anyway, I just wanted to show off this colony. I'm reasonably proud of it. It's got some sculptures and some masterpieces, of course. I've made sure that only those who are capable of doing the art do the art. I've got a couple who could, but I've got, let's see, Drew and Erica. Oh, Horace. I thought Erica was, yes, Erica is also one of them. But yes. I hope you guys enjoy this colony. Maybe it gives you some ideas. And if, of course, you have any ideas on things I should change or maybe a way to improve this radiator. I've spent far too much time trying to make this radiator work really well, actually. And I'm pretty happy with how well it's worked so far. It appears to have warmed up in here a bit, actually. Interesting. But if anyone has any comments for a way to improve my colony at all, they'd be much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.